Yes, here we are once again. If you're watching live, of course, that means many things, but the main thing it means is that it's noon Eastern time on a Wednesday, which is always time for the High Noon Hemp Show. Of course, you can watch us in many places. We're on the Facebook, the Temptations Beach Facebook page. We're also on YouTube, which is a better picture overall, I think. The Jedi Hemp YouTube channel. Go check us out there. So, hear myself. I sound awesome. You can also get the podcast, of course. Search at Podbean, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Spotify as well. Also on X or Twitter, whatever you still, if you still call it that, at Temptations on there. I am Stoner Jesus. I do various things on the interwebs. You can search out if you feel like it. He is Beach. He is high above the Temptations in Sharonville, Ohio, at the Hemp Quarters on a very special day. How are things this week in the world of Temptations, Beach?
Well, we are celebrating Hempin' Times. That's for sure today. Happy Hempin' Times to everyone out there. We love hemp more than anything else. So today is a great day to show our love for hemp here on the High Noon Hemp Show. It is true. Remember that the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy. So, all right. Well, let's go ahead and let's get the. That's my. I took that. That's one of the first federally recognized hemp plants in the entire country back in 2014.
Nice.
Uh, and then added the hearts because it's all love. It's all love. That's what we got. That's what we got for hemp. Here is love. No better way to celebrate love than with hemp, through hemp, with by all hemp here on the High Noon Hemp Show. And of course, we love the pledge. So we'll go ahead and do the pledge, which is I pledge allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which is planted. One seed under the sun with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all. All right. Just so you know, if you love Hemptations, we are doing City Beat is still, I'm pretty sure the best of is still going on. And so you can go to citybeat.com and you can vote for us in these categories. Of course, the Green Sustainable Goods Store is my favorite. If that's the only one that we even place in, I'm okay with that. I have no problems with that. But we are also usually up there and have won the smoke shop category. I feel like I don't even know. I feel like we've had to have placed in the CBD retailer at least 1, 2, or 3, but I don't remember officially if we have. And if we haven't, that's just ridiculous, honestly. We are the oldest CBD retailer in the city, probably doubling, if not quadrupling, the years that everyone else has been selling CBD. We have our own line. It's clean, locally grown in Kentucky, processed Kentucky, all these things that should put us at the top of the list, So, and then, of course, if you want to write us in for a category, write us in for the Friend of the Environment category. Just type in Hemptations in the write-in part at the top. If we get enough write-ins, we get on the list, but I don't think that that's happened yet, and so I don't know if we're actually on the list or not. I have not gone back to check to see if we've had enough write-in votes for Friend of the Environment to get officially on the list. So there you have it. That's the local Hemptations stuff going on here on Hempin' Times Day. So let's get right on to the product spotlight. It's kind of Hempin' Times related, other than this first set of products, which is brand new. I talked last week about Juicetiva. And we have picked up their line. And again, these are powdered goods. Okay, there's 800 milligrams of CBDA, which actually comes from the leaf. And so I've been talking about how we need to use the leaf more for stuff. Well, here you have it. Here's a product. It comes in coca. And just for you know, as a coffee drinker, I just read recently, now your 3 cups of coffee that I have seen, I'm not giving medical advice. This is just stuff that I have read and done research on. 3 cups of coffee is very healthy for the average human, including heart health. Well, if you add coca, unsweetened, um, then you're adding even more heart healthy benefits to your coffee. And so now we have CBDA or CBD, naturally occurring CBD from the leaf. You can do the coca. We also do the lemon, which actually I did the lemon last night in my water, which I liked. And so basically each serving, oh, now I'm going to forget how much, maybe has like 30 milligrams. No, there's 30 servings in there. I forget now, but it's a decent amount for basically a spoonful of the powder. Um,
The one on the
you have,
far right says 25 per
yeah,
serving.
yeah. I think that's
And
the
the other ones
average.
are the other ones are
So,
800 for 30 servings.
and so and then you've got the green leaf, and then I think there's just like kind of an unflavored. And again, you can mix these with your coffee, your water, your juice. You can make smoothies with them. All the things basically that you may want to do with them. You can do as far as liquid form goes, one way or another. And so it's just another good way to get your some daily allowance of and of course we don't have a daily allowance of CD because the FDA is still dragging their feet one way or another. Um, but I've seen anywhere from 20 to 30 milligrams daily has all kinds of heart benefits, one way from another. Hello from Cincinnati. Um, and so thanks for joining us here on the High Noon Hemp Show. Now this next product is a little hemp and times related. So it's chocolate. Chocolate seems to be related to this day in some way or another. And of course, these are homestead chocolates from just down across the river as well, over in Kentucky. And great, great, great products, one way or another. So if you want to do some chocolates for that, you can. And of course, flowers is always like something related to this day. So here's some hemp flower. This is the THC hemp flower that we have. We definitely need to re-up on this, but this is the THCA, and it's become super popular since we picked it up. And then maybe a card. Cards are also something somewhat related to today. How about a card with a flower on it?
That's right.
You could do that. This is the selection of cards with flowers that we have in the Sharonville store. These are Nature Flections. And again, these are hemp cards made out of hemp paper. And so show your love with some hemp if you need to or want to, one way or another. Now, my one for my door, we say 4 from the store, 1 for my door, doesn't have anything to do with Hemp and Times other than showing my love of hemp over the years in my wallets and various carry-alls, I suppose, that I've had. You got a little zipper pocket down in the left bottom corner, and then there's some checkbook covers and larger wallets. Up on the top there, the monastache with the clear, that's actually, I used to do that, for shows. I put my buyer information and whatnot in there and then put it around your neck. So, kind of use that for shows. And then, some wallets all the way up to that one on the right top corner is obviously a wallet that I basically wore out back in the day. And then right underneath that is my officially licensed Beatles hemp wallet. I also have a officially licensed Beatles hemp hat in my collection that maybe I'll break out sometime soon on the show during the next segment of the show. So there you have it. 4 from the store, a bunch from my door on the product spotlight here on the High Noon Hemp Show. Dun, dun, dun.
That, of course, brings us to you may be wondering what does Beach wear? We see what Beach wears each week, but what does he wear on the officially licensed Day of Love in the United States and around the world? Well, you're going to find out because all I have to do is ask Beach a question. As I've said before, you can ask Beach this question anytime. You see him on the street, you see him in one of the stores. Just say this next question, and it'll be like having your own very own personal segment from the show in person. It's just that amazing. All I have to say is, what are you wearing, Beach?
It's true. If you're curious what I'm wearing, to show my love for hempen times, I kind of call this my hemp field outfit. You know, dirt on the bottom, green on the top. Kind of is my theme here, and so uh, all the way on top there is my hempen ale with the sun on it. Got my sun shining down on my hemp field outfit, so to speak. Um, I've got a hemp hoodlam coat because it's still a little chilly, cold. I should say cold in the mornings here, so the afternoons aren't too bad. Um, and then for the first time, and I just, again, because I'm going through all this stuff, I have found some hemp jewelry that I had made. And so around my neck there is one of my beach made hemp jewelry. And, you know, it's got a really neat green bead, which you really can't see too much, obviously. It's a little difficult, but it is there. Trust me on that. Underneath that is a Young Maven long sleeve. And then on top of that, my t-shirt is actually Vital Hemp. Vital Hemp's a great clothing company. They've been dedicated to hemp clothing for a long time. I do believe you can still find Vital Hemp clothing online, probably at vitalhemp.com, if I was to guess. Got a pair of Orvis pants on, being held up by a Hempy's belt, as you can see. And of course, in my pocket there is my Green Springs Technology pen, injection molded. Which of course I carry my a pen with me, hemp pen with me everywhere I go, pretty much if I've got a pocket to put it in. Top right corner there, top right corner there is a pair of Satori briefs. And then my socks are also Satori, the Canaleaf collection. And then on the old feet, there's a good old pair of Adidas Sambas. So if you're wondering, how do I love hemp? What do I wear? What are you wearing, Beach, for your love of hemp? You know, again, this is what I kind of call my hemp field outfit, because it's dirt on the bottom, green on the top, and then the sun shining down off of my hat to bring it all together there. So
Nice.
now you know what I'm wearing. Now we're going to try something new here for the commercial. We're going to take a little commercial break. I'm going to run a audio commercial that ran on the radio that is in fact it was made for today. So here you go. Enjoy.
Since the dawn of Hemptations, we have really liked love. Hemptations likes loving planet Earth, always has. Get in on the love with great body and planet-friendly products like Earthly Body Edible Oil, or love being warm with a hemp hoodlam jacket, and really like loving our Love brand shampoo and conditioner, and new Love Hemp chocolate bars. I really like love. In a world that has to like something, we like love. Like Hemptations. Seriously, go to Facebook and like Hemptations. 2 locations, 7 days a week. Get all the info at hemptations.com and check out our locally made products at planeteverywhere.com. Like love? Hemptations likes loving you. Having Hemptations?
There you have it. Yeah, good old. It's a little dated. I don't think we have. We still probably have some of those products, but not all of them. But we do like love. It's true. and we love like, and so it kind of goes both ways, either way. However you want to do it, one way or another. Well, we got some really good news that I really love, and I'm going to share it with you now here on the High Noon Hemp Show. So, a company called Tau Climate, who is working with Hemp Technology LLC and Hempire on building hempcrete housing in Ukraine, is a finalist for the X Prize carbon removal. This is huge. I think there are only 6 finalists from what I read in the entire X Prize carbon removal competition. Okay. I think that just making it as a finalist is really going to bring some attention to how hempcrete alone can fight and bring down, reduce carbon. Okay, because supposedly, and I think if I read correctly, hempcrete is, as far as all the construction that goes on in the world, concrete is the largest bad carbon one of all of them. Okay, hempcrete is probably the best because I've mentioned it before. When you're growing the hemp, okay, hemp in the field sequesters more carbon than trees do. Okay, then you put it into the hempcrete, and the hempcrete somehow still continues to grab that grab more carbon somehow, and it just keeps doing that. And of course, then it holds that in there as well. And so, as far as sequestering carbon and holding carbon and keeping carbon and continuing to reduce carbon, hempcrete, it's like, again, it's one of those amazing things that if we made everything out of hempcrete that we could and got rid of all the concrete that we didn't need to use, it would be an unbelievable turnaround as far as the carbon issue. And so congratulations to Tau Climate, Hemp Technology LLC, Hempire, all those companies that are working in the hempcrete industry. Now, I believe they're over in UK, if I remember, or over in Europe somewhere originally. And of course, I would think, because I believe that the Ukraine actually grows a decent amount of hemp, that they can maybe locally source that hemp as well, which then again cuts down on emissions and travel and all that stuff. So nice work. Everybody, send some good vibes their way. If they win the X Prize carbon removal prize, I think that would exponentially speed up the slowness of hempcrete making its way into construction around the world, which we have seen and you will see more of here on the High Noon Hemp Show in the news as well. So recently they discovered this 35,000-year-old rope making tool. Okay, and you can see it's got like holes in it. And so what they figured out is that the people, and this was in Germany, okay, they would take the fiber or whatever it was they were weaving, and they would put it through the holes and then weave it to make rope. So it's really, this is probably the oldest rope making technology that's ever been found. And when they were experimenting with the available products, so to speak, or fibers to use in this, they did use hemp as far as one of them goes, because hemp would have been growing in that area 35,000 years ago. And so, I was hoping that they would have found some small little fibers of hemp to prove that they use hemp. So we don't know that they used hemp, but they proposed that there were only 3 materials that they used which were reeds, hemp, and I believe flax, because they believe those would have been what was available to the people of that time, and they used it to weave a rope that was strong enough to hold a person, and so it's pretty neat technology being used over 35,000 years ago to make rope, which we can only gather, led to hemp being used as rope all over the world for a long time. And still just not as prevalent anymore, it seems like. So pretty neat. All right, well, let's move up about I don't know 30,000 years or so, maybe, and check out this this hemp petroglyph that has been found. And again, I'm not positive where this was found. Now, I did doing some research on hempcrete and the history of hempcrete. Apparently, in India, they were using hempcrete a long time ago. Now, what these people were using hemp for is hard to say, but it's a pretty large petroglyph. It's pretty, and what's interesting is it almost looks like the hemp leaf is coming out of the head of the person below. Almost like hemp is a great idea. Like, instead of a light bulb going off over our heads, maybe a hemp leaf should go off over our heads when we have a great idea. Because hemp is a great idea, and obviously has thousands and thousands and thousands of years of documented history, one way or another, for sure. So hempitecture out in Ketchum, Idaho, and I love Ketchum. I've actually went out like 20 some odd years ago. We actually took a family trip to Ketchum, Idaho. And so I have a history in Ketchum. But they are one of 6 companies to participate in a startup acceleration program with Greentown Labs, which is a climate tech incubator. And so I think all that they do is invest in and promote good climate positive companies and startups and whatnot. Hempitecture has been around for a little while, but not that long. Again, working pretty much with, I believe, hempcrete, one way or another. And so, again, the construction aspect of hempcrete and using hemp in architecture and all this is, again, it is just remaining to be super popular all over the world, and so, which is great. We cannot promote hempcrete to replace concrete fast enough. We can't do it. So I hope it takes over the industry everywhere, and I just hope that the concrete companies can get in on this. They don't have to be. They're only going to get left behind if they don't adapt. This is the truth of it. Okay, I know they're set in their ways, but they also know that their ways are running out. Okay, I'm sorry, not hemp. The sand that you need to make concrete is running out. They're mining it all. They're dredging it out of all the rivers all over the world. The acceptable sand. No, you cannot use desert sand, apparently. And I can't believe that they haven't figured out how to use desert sand, I suppose.
Yeah.
That seems endless. But apparently that's just not the right consistency of sand for concrete. So they can't. And so, again, they have to mine and strip beaches and strip riverbeds of this particular type of sand that can only be used. We don't need that in hempcrete. We have a renewable resource in hemp that grows every 4 to 5 months, which is, again, why this makes hempcrete such a sustainable building material. one way or another. Here's an interesting. Now, a new study showed that CBD may be effective in perioperative pain control for patients who underwent arthroscopic rotator cuff repair. And again, this only makes sense because what we do know from our customers and research and things that CBD works well as a pain reliever if that pain is caused by inflammation. And so I would only assume that obviously there's some inflammation after surgeries that you want to deal with. And we've also seen, and I don't know if this has really anything to do with it because I don't know how this works, but we've also seen a little bit of research that shows that CBD is good for bone repair, like broken bones and things like that. And so, just more proof of CBD's therapeutic value to humans. Once again, we have the endocannabinoid receptor system, runs from our brains to every part of our body through the CB1 and CB2 receptors. So our body takes in that CBD and basically goes to the brain. The brain says, "Where do I need this?" Sends it out to the body where it thinks it needs it and uses it there, even if that means it stays in the brain to help with anxiety and things like that. That's science. I'm not giving any medical advice. That's science. Okay, it's the science of it, which has been proven, but is not taught a whole lot in the medical society. More and more now because having education related to cannabis for medicinal purposes is exponentially growing every day. And so but up until even probably 5 years ago, the endocannabinoid receptor system was not talked about, not taught in medical school, which again blows me away because it's an important part of our body. But again, because it's natural, it doesn't fit into the Western medicine ideology. But that is changing. That is changing every day. Now we have so many medical states. CBD is proving to be beneficial, and doctors need to know this. Doctors need to know this. It's like they have to go back to school. In Ohio, they have to go back to school to learn about cannabis as a medicine to be an acceptable doctor to give a recommendation. At least in the state of Ohio, I don't know what the recommendations are in other states, but that's the case in Ohio. And again, it's funny because they can't just say, "Oh, well, you were educated on it in medical school, so you should know." They say, "Oh, you don't know anything. Doctors don't know anything about cannabis as a medicine, so you have to learn." And again, this is a part of the human body that exists. That's science. That's again, science says so. Missouri, they're another one of the states, just so you know, if you're in Missouri, keep watching this. They want to regulate intoxicating hemp, but they got in a huge debate. The politicians got in a huge debate as to who would oversee the regulations and new regulations if they make new regulations. And so it's like they think they need to do something, but they're confused as to how or why they should really do it. In Iowa, they have a bill 665, okay, that would basically make full spectrum CBD because it has that tiny bit of, basically what this would say is any product that has any amount of THC in it, whether it's at 0.3% or whatever, would have to be 21 or older to purchase. Okay. Which again, completely ridiculous. completely ridiculous ideology. Uh, you know, CBD is safe for kids. It's safe for people of all ages. There's no euphoric value to a full spectrum CBD product. There's not enough THC in there to get anybody high, so to speak. And so this is going to going to mess up some people that are used to going down to their shop or whatever and getting their full spectrum CBD products if they're not 21 for sure. And so, it's this one is kind of ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. I don't, I can't argue with age restrictions for, high amounts of Delta 9, high amounts of Delta 8, even this new, what they're calling intoxicating hemp, which is the new catchphrase in most states now. And again, I don't, if you know of somewhere that's been calling all these products intoxicating hemp for more than, say, a month or two, even, let me know, because that, might have started right here in the grand old Ohio area with our illustrious governor trying to throw the gavel down on intoxicating hemp. And so, luckily here, most of it, they tried to ban it and they tried to attach it to a bill to ban it. That did not work. There is a new bill, which I have not seen whether they're even discussing it or not yet, as to age requirements for these intoxicating hemp products here in Ohio. So, we'll see how that goes. But it is it's the new buzzword with the politicians and the regulations and telling us what we can have and what we can't have, because we're not smart enough to figure it out on our own. And so we'll see what happens there. And I've seen more states. Again, I feel like in the next coming months we're going to see a lot more states going after intoxicating hemp, including Florida just continues to go after the industrial hemp market, and it just blows me away how unkind Florida. It seems like they're trying to pass a new bill every other month that restricts some type of intoxicating hemp or just hemp products, period, one way or another. And they're really the only ones that are getting away with it, and I don't know how, because most states that really go after it, try to ban it and whatnot, they've gotten checked and realized that they can't do that now. Making the age restrictions, I think, is usually the second option after a state tries to ban these things, finding out that they really can't ban them. Because if they've legalized industrial hemp, then they follow the federal guidelines, and the federal guidelines say that anything you make out of industrial hemp is 100% legal. 100% legal. And so, that's kind of where the issue of banning the products go. Making age requirements for them, I think, is easier, and it's also harder to challenge one way or another. In the same sense, I sure wish that some of these politicians would prove that these things are actually harmful to us, and therefore we need age restrictions because we're not smart enough to figure it out. That's never been done. That's never even been done with cannabis, period, in the federal laws. They've never proven legitimately that cannabis is harmful to humans at all, and yet it still remains 100% illegal federally. They're okay with alcohol and they're okay with tobacco, and both of those substances have been proven to be harmful to the human body. But cannabis is still illegal, and they have not proven that it's harmful. Just for the record, the brain damage, which they used to bring up and they don't bring up anymore because we pretty much checked them on the research. When the government did came out and said that smoking cannabis causes brain damage. These were trials that were done on monkeys. Well, they would make monkeys ingest cannabis smoke for up to 6 minutes at a time with no oxygen. Okay. Well, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure if you cut off oxygen to the brain for more than a couple minutes,
Yeah.
that does damage. And so you don't hear that brain damage much anymore. And they've also, they've gotten away with calling it addictive. Now they call it habit forming. Okay. Which, if you drink a Coke every day, that's habit forming by definition.
Yeah.
And so, one way or another, it's kind of, and once again, there's no real medical studies that have been done that proves cannabis is harmful to the human. And the worst that they might be able to prove is just because smoking is bad. But guess what? There's no proof that smoking cannabis, no medical proof that smoking cannabis causes lung cancer. None. Find me some. I dare you. There's not one doctor that has yet to put a cause of death on a death certificate said it was cannabis that killed the person. Not one doctor, not one death certificate in the United States has a doctor ever said that cannabis was the reason for death. Not one. So anyway, there you have that. Here is a hemp house grown in Colorado. This is pretty cool because this one was built with, not grown with. Well, it was kind of grown with, grown with, locally sourced hemp. And again, if we don't have to bring in, if you can ship the things to make the hempcrete even closer, once again, that adds value to the earth friendliness of the hempcrete as well. And we've always said that, we can grow the hemp to make all the hemp products just about anywhere in the United States. And so, the least amount of distance that it has to travel, the better that is for the planet as well. So that's why thinking locally, buying locally, is another good reason, no matter what it is, because if it has to get shipped all the way around the world, then the emissions, even as clean as hemp is, all that fiber that we have to import from China right now, it's got to come across on a ship. That's got to come, that's got to use some stuff that's polluting the world to get it here. We can just grow it here, process it here, make our products here, and then send them to the local stores here, no matter where here is. We are once again exponentially adding benefit to the earth friendliness of all hemp products, any hemp product, one way or another. Now this is kind of interesting. Okay, there's a new study in the UK on using spent hemp biomass from the CBD industry, okay, as a viable livestock feed for cows, okay, as an ingredient. And I quote from the article, "It is rich in anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties that can benefit an animal's immune system, performance, and overall health," says the doctor. And it even shows potential in helping us achieve sustainability and efficiency goals, possibly increasing an animal's nitrogen use efficiency and reducing methane production. The study showed that it was safe and did not negatively affect lactation performance or the health of the cows. Okay, and so once again, And so what I can assume is that they're taking the flowers that have been, the CBD has been extracted from the flowers of the plant, um, and then feeding that to the cows. 100% safe, which is, that's on a whole new level of whether hemp grain should be livestock feed, which it should. We just talked about on the show how we are like this far away from having hemp seed being approved for laying hens, which once again, to me, I can't wait to buy eggs in the grocery store that says that these are free range hemp fed chickens. Can't
Yeah.
wait to happen. And we're right around the corner. We're right around the corner, and I think that that's where we're definitely going to see that the first market to accept it is going to be that organic grain, free range chicken eggs industry, so to speak, adopting, saying, "Hey, yes, well, yes, we should be doing this." And then again, I would love to see. I can't wait to see whether that adds nutritional value to the chickens. Yeah, I think it will make the chickens' lives even happier because they love hemp. This I can attest. We fed our chickens hemp, and they loved it. The first time I saw some chickens was like 5 years ago. My buddy had chickens down in Asheville, and I had a bunch of hemp seed, and I took it down there. We just threw it out on the sidewalk, and they ate every bit of morsel of that hemp. And then we did it to our chickens too, out on our farm when we were out there, and they loved it. You can't commercially feed it to hemp because it's not approved, so you can't sell eggs that came from chickens that ate hemp right now because it is not an approved livestock feed. So I think if it gets approved for the chickens, and again, it's been approved by the FDA's Department of Agriculture. I don't know how it all worked out, or I don't know how it logistically works out. But I do believe that it is very, very close to getting approval to be used in the hen laying industry. And again, I think it's it's one of those things that without much fanfare is going to make yet another product healthier and better for not just the planet, but the animals that are using it and the animals that are going to eat those eggs. Us humans, or whatever animal you want to feed your eggs to, if your animal likes eggs. We often forget that we are animals somehow, but we are. Okay, we are. I promise you. Article titled "Favorite Foods That Lower Cholesterol." Um, and basically what they said here was, instead of flax seeds, try hemp seeds. Hemp seeds are exceptionally nutritious and rich in protein, healthy fats, and several minerals. And heart healthy, they lower cholesterol. Okay, and that is like super important in this world. I see all kinds of commercials for pharmaceuticals and stuff. I even see one now that says, if your one pharmaceutical drug isn't doing good enough for your lowering your cholesterol, then you need to get on this one, which will help that one and lower your cholesterol. And it's kind of funny because they're like, if food choices and health just aren't enough. And once again, for me, food choices and health were not the issue as to why I have high cholesterol. Apparently, some of us animal humans, our bodies don't process cholesterol correctly, and so we get a buildup in our hearts, which is what caused my heart issues. My cholesterol heart issues had nothing to do with my diet or my health regimen. It's purely the fact, in my understanding, my liver just doesn't doesn't process the liver or cholesterol like it should, so therefore I have a buildup. And so, once again, hemp seed being another great option for lowering cholesterol, especially those that have high cholesterol because of their diet. This is one way you can instantly start helping out there, because it is a heart healthy food and lowers cholesterol. This is kind of interesting. So in the UK, and I kind of talk about it a lot, obviously, excuse me, they're really, really embracing industrial hemp, non-CBD hemp, because they had over 10,000 hemp applications to grow, from to use, I should say, from textiles to construction materials that have been submitted in the UK, and so that's huge. It's unfortunate that they didn't mention the food in there yet. They may be slow to the food, but willing, obviously, to accept that hemp textiles should be produced as much as possible, and hemp construction materials should be used as much as possible. And they're kind of taking their views from France, because again, the French are huge. France is the country that never stopped growing hemp for any reason, and so from cigarette paper industry, which is huge there as far as hemp growing goes, to building their gendarme little police boxes out of hemp. If you're going to do any crete, like if you're rebuilding a house or we're doing any crete work, it has to be, I believe, hempcrete. Hey, thanks for joining us from Jersey, man. We've gone from one coast to the other. I love it. Seattle to New Jersey. It's the High Noon Hemp Show, folks. So this is what we want to do. We want to touch everybody from one coast to the other and educate them on hemp. So thanks for joining us. And so, once again, the European countries, have been pretty quiet about it. It's not like they're running around bragging about it, but Germany's huge industrial hemp country. France, huge industrial hemp country. Italy grows the finest hemp fiber in the world, from my understanding. And now the UK is getting in on all things hemp. And you've seen it here, because normally on the show, at least every other show or so, there's somebody over in the UK or over in Europe that is doing great things when it comes to industrial hemp products. Last week it was some chairs that I showed, and actually some material was coming from there. So, it's always been in the world. And the funniest, I should say the most ironic aspect is America was one of the last to really grow hemp, because the Europeans brought it here. Okay, there was no cannabis growing in America until the Europeans got here. That's the history of that. And so even we only brought Europeans, I should say. I do have some Native American blood in me. It's not much, but I hold more pride in that than anything. Anyway, the Europeans once again brought hemp to America, and made it a vital crop, especially on the eastern side of the country. In Virginia, it was legal tender. You could pay your taxes with it. If you grew a certain amount of property, if you had a certain amount of agricultural land, you had to grow hemp early in the European takeover of America, which actually stems from a decree that King Richard VIII made in Britain Before that, which was basically the same thing, if you grew a certain amount of agricultural crops, acres of hectares over there of any agricultural crop, then you had to grow industrial hemp. One, because it was vital to the Navy, vital to the rigging, and that's why we did it here. It's because it was vital to America becoming its own country. Once again, Thomas Jefferson smuggled over 500,000 hemp seeds from Russia through Britain, which was illegal at the time, from Russia through Britain to America because it was so vital to to the European success in taking over America as they did. And so, anyway, pretty interesting history there, honestly. But the rest of the world, we're talking 5,000 to 8,000 years of documented use. China, India, Russia, the Fertile Crescent, all those places have documented use of hemp. I don't think it was indigenous to Africa, if I was to guess. And so Africa and America, may have been the only two countries originally. And I don't know about Australia, of course, but everywhere else, if it made it to Africa, it was probably after the fact, because it would have come back down, out of, and of course, the history of the plant comes from the Tibetan Plateau. They have traced the origins of cannabis to the Tibetan Plateau, which is why I believe China and India were both huge users of hemp. And then, of course, we went up into Russia and all of that, and it made its way over to Europe, blah, blah, blah. That's, I think kind of how it's transgressed across the world, one way or another. 8,000 Kicks. They've had a shoe out there for a while. They have just released their waterproof hemp Chelsea boots, and so they're kind of interesting, I suppose. I don't, and again, I've never been a huge fan of Kickstarter stuff. These guys have been pretty successful with their hemp products on Kickstarter, so good for them, I suppose. And going, and I don't know if that leads to full-blown production, or even if you still want to buy the original 8,000 Kicks, it's kind of a running shoe style hemp shoe, or their backpack, which they also touted as waterproof, I believe, then you can get to. But I liked it. I like the looks of them. I like the style. And so good for them on that one. Now, going from, something that makes total sense to the ridiculous. And I had seen these before, and I wasn't sure if these shoes were a joke or for real. But they're not a joke, okay? And they're only making, this is 8,000 Kicks as well, same shoe company. They're only making 100 pairs of these or something. But these are, and again, I can't really fathom how this is even being done, even when I read the description. But this is actually hemp flower. These shoes, the outsides of these shoes, are made from hemp flower. Now, they described it as that they sew on the hemp flower to the material, which to me, I still in my brain say this is like a 420 joke, and I feel like the first time I saw these shoes were around 420, and I was like, well, those are real. That's fun. That's great. But those can't be real. But supposedly these are real. there is a very limited amount, and maybe you go check the Kickstarter for 8,000 kicks in the flower shoes, the shoes made of hemp flower. And again, my understanding is it's CBD flower or hemp flower, period. I would assume they could use grain flour possibly once the grain has been taken out of it. I don't know. I don't know. But, I suppose if you really wanted to show your love for hemp flour, putting it on your feet might be the way to do that. I feel like you'd really have to walk around like you were walking on eggshells to keep them intact. But I don't know. Again, it's I would. This is a product that I would personally like to hold in my hand, just to see A, that it's real, and B, if it's real, and like workable, so to speak. But good for them. I hope they sell. I hope they sell all these, make a nice, pretty profit, and then come up with another hemp shoe that an average person would wear or can afford, for that matter. I don't remember what the cost was, but I do believe that they're not super cheap, one way or another. I can't see how they could be super cheap just because of the process and what they've done here. Here's another, and I've talked about this one other time. There's a game out there, and this might be the same game that I talked about. This game is called Skull and Bones, and it's all about part of it is like ancient ships and whatnot, but apparently you can collect or make fine hemp in the game. That's how it was described, fine hemp, and then trade that in for goods. Like a lot of these particular goods were like flags for your ships or something. But once again, and again, this might be the same game, but there was another game where you could farm hemp, make it into material, and then sell that material for goods in the game, which is pretty time true, because again, this was the look of the game made it look like it was 1600 1700 ships one way or another, and so once again it was very important back then, and so it makes sense. It almost seems, I can't believe it, and I know maybe you can upgrade your ships to hemp sails, which would be superior and have been proven to be superior to any other natural material out there when it comes to sails. I believe it's still true, to be honest with you. I think a lot of sails on a lot of sailboats now are synthetic, but if they're not, they should be made out of hemp still, because it's great because, for one thing, hemp has been proven to strengthen itself when it becomes wet, as opposed to make it weaker. And then again, you've got all those other things: antimicrobial, antibacterial. It's it's just a great. It's the strongest natural fiber on the planet. That's a proven fact as well. The strongest natural product or fiber on the planet. Sometimes people bring up silk, and I say, well, if killing spiders is natural, then I guess silk is stronger than hemp. But I think if an animal has to die for the fiber, then I don't consider that to be natural. Okay. Yes, it's made in nature, but my understanding is the spiders don't get out alive in the long run. I don't prove me wrong on that one, and then maybe I'll succumb. But anyway, so that's pretty neat game. Being kind of authentic to the time period of the game, and making hemp available and also making it available for trade. So pretty smart there. So I don't know what part of cannabis this comes from. I would only assume that we may be able to get this particular chemical compound from hemp. But recently, a study showed that PHEC-66. Now, for the record, the reason cannabis cannot be synthesized is because it has over 500 or so chemical compounds, so to speak, that make it up when it comes to the flower itself. And so what they found with PHEC-66, which is a cannabis sativa extract, it is shown to stop isolated melanoma cells in a petri dish. Stop them. Melanoma is one of the biggest cancer killers out there. And so it stopped melanoma cell growth. Okay, now again, this was just in a petri dish, but what they're going to move on to now is animal and human studies. Now, I'm not a big fan of giving animals diseases so that we can see if the medicines that we have will cure them. In all honesty, that's not fair to the animals, but I sure think human trials, why not just jump right into human trials with this, skip the animals? Because, again, I don't know, if it just means dropping PHEC 66 or shooting PHEC 66 into melanoma that people already have. Of course, they want to make sure that it's safe for humans, but in the same sense, I can't imagine how it could be any less safe than the melanoma that they may have to begin with. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this all works out with this particular isolate of cannabis sativa, PHEC 66. How much of that is in the flower? How do they, how do you get that in large doses? Next thing you know, is that going to be the next popular flower? A flower that's high in PHEC 66 for melanoma. Either way, it's a good start. And again, we are, once again, just at the cusp of actually finding out all of the therapeutic value of all of the parts of the cannabis sativa flower that we know already has benefits to humans. But because there's so much to investigate, there's so many things that we can break it down to and see. But it stopped melanoma cell growth. So look for that coming up in and hopefully available soon to anyone that may have melanoma cancer. Article titled 5 Foods High in Omega-3s. We already know that they are. Hemp was number 3 on the list. Ironic. But what we're finding is you get 2.6 grams of omega-3 and just 3 tablespoons of hemp. And they say that the recommended daily doses of omega-3s for health benefits is 1.1 grams for women and 1.6 grams for men. So you really only need, 1.5 grams to 2, or 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons to get your daily dose of healthy omega-3s. These are essential fatty acids. They are the good fatty, as we like to say. And again, omega-6 also very good. I've always been told nutritionally, and science I believe is proving this, that hemp seed has like the perfect ratio of omega-6, omega-3 essential fatty acids, on top of its protein content and its vitamins and minerals and everything, that also makes it heart healthy, or why it's also heart healthy, I should say, and lowers cholesterol, and why it should be in every food that we can make it available to as soon as possible. Like yesterday was too late. The fact that we've been calling hemp food a superfood for 10 years. And when I say we, I mean voices like Oprah and Dr. Oz and dietitians all over the world. But because of the stigma of it, I think it's really held it back. When, in all honesty, and I was never, a big fan of the term superfood, but I have learned to appreciate it. Because hemp is a superfood. It is super for us, and it would be super if most humans would add it to their diet some way or another. But what we're looking at is a lack of use in all the products that it could be in, one way or another. And so, we're talking bread, oatmeal, chips. I've seen it in all these forms. And so there's no reason why the mass producers of these foods should be trying to figure out how to come up with a hemp line. They don't have to replace they don't have to replace their potato chip with hemp chips. They should just add hemp chips to their line of options, giving the consumer the option. And again, if they can add it to their chips in some form or another to make them healthier, then once again, it's a great idea. It's a great idea. We're still quite a ways away from hemp food being as large of a selection at the grocery store. Every grocery store has it. Don't get me wrong. There are hemp products in every grocery store that you shop in. I don't care where you are in the United States. If you are going to a medium to large size grocery store, there is hemp food on the shelves. Not always easy to find. Sometimes it's quite amazing, because I look at certain products, but I always check ingredients. Every once in a while, I'll turn over a product and be like, wow, this has hemp seed in it. It's not on the label. It's not there. And again, that's the way it should be. It just should be added to the foods if they can add it to the foods, because it makes the food nutritionally more valuable to the consumer, one way or another. And again, hemp grain requires no herbicides or pesticides to be grown. Just like hemp, if you grow for the fiber, no herbicides or pesticides need to be used. Okay, if you're using soy products to get protein, you're a vegetarian, vegan, you're using soy products to get the protein that soy brags about. 90% of the soy is controlled by the company that basically invented chemicals for soy. Okay, they invented the chemicals for soy back in the 80s, and then they came up with the seed that was acceptable to use the chemicals on the soy to begin with. 90% worldwide, one company controls that industry. If your soy products are not organic, then you're beholden to this company that, once again, their products are proving to cause cancer. I'm not anti-genetically modifying. I mean, we've genetically modified hemp through breeding better than any other plant in the world. Okay. Now, gene splicing or gene engineering, that's kind of another tricky subject. Okay. And I get it. Normally what they do when it comes to gene engineering is they take a gene from something non-related to the animal or plant, and then they put it in the animal or plant, and it came from nature originally. And so, there might be, but when we have to genetically modify a seed to be acceptable to a chemical that we want to use on that seed or that plant, that's gone over the line. And again, that's I was on a farm. I grew up on a small farm in Kentucky, and I was paying attention enough to know, even in my teens, when the Big M started their takeover of the soy industry, that was an issue. And of course, that was also the time where corporate farming basically took over farming. And I knew then, as I know now, that it was a terrible, terrible idea. It was a good idea in one sense that they could supply larger amounts of food to the world. I suppose, you have that argument. We need more food. We need to figure out how to make more food. But it was also the introduction of mass chemicals on our food product to get there, to get there, instead of just trying to figure out how to continually, make these products naturally, work a little harder, hire some more people to go through the fields as opposed to just one guy in a tractor spraying the field down. But maybe hire some more humans to go through the field to figure out where the pests are, to figure out if there's disease, and then to neutralize it individually. But and that's what we're trying to come back to with the organic and natural farming ideologies. Yes, organic is harder, but I think that it's also, it just means that we can once again invest in more employees in the farming industry that aren't necessarily farmers, but can go out and check the crops for these things that are a detriment and can be a detriment when you're not using gallons and millions of gallons of chemicals on them. And hemp is one of those. Hemp grain requires no herbicides, no pesticides. We don't need it. There's no pests that have an effect. They might be in the field, okay, but they don't affect the end result. They don't affect the end product when we're growing for hemp grain or for the fiber. They only have an issue with the flower, which again, is kind of scary on the CBD side of things and whatnot. And so that's the only time it is an issue or should be an issue. More hemp food is healthier societies all over the world. Doesn't matter. And again, it was part of both India's traditional, I think, 5 grains. 5,000 years ago, hemp was one of the 5 grains essential to food production. Same in China, for that matter. All right. California. Again, it's so weird that California is so cannabis. They're pretty cannabis cool, but they really don't like industrial hemp. Honestly, they keep doing these weird things. So they're working on a bill called AB 2223 that would. Well, I don't know. I guess this is actually the reverse. So this is actually a good thing. It would allow hemp and its derivatives to be used in the cannabis manufacturers, which I don't understand. Like, if you're making a cannabis product in California, I don't understand why, if you can source the whatever it is you need from industrial hemp, you couldn't do that to begin with. But apparently you couldn't, which, again, the division there makes no sense. That's kind of backwards, in my opinion. But they would not be allowed to use Delta 9 that had been converted from hemp-derived cannabinoid, which I don't understand. Because A, it's not a derivative. It hasn't been made from. It is naturally occurring in hemp. We get that 0.3% by dry weight. And so, I think that they're kind of confused as to how we get Delta 9 from industrial hemp legally. Well, the reason we get it from it legally is because at the end of the year, you grow a whole field of CBD flower, you're allowed that 0.3%. So if you extract it, it's Delta 9, same as if you extract it from any other cannabis. 100% exactly the same isolate. Okay, when it's isolated from hemp flower, it is no different than when you isolate it from any other cannabis and put it in a gummy, put it in a cart, put it in whatever it is you want to put it in. It's the exact same stuff. Exact same stuff. Same stuff we have that here. We've been selling that for a while. And so I don't really know who they're trying to protect or what they're trying to protect there, but it's kind of weird. They will put new standards, and this is once again, logically speaking, I cannot figure this out. I don't know what they really mean here. They're going to put new standards for hemp food and beverage, limiting to 5 servings per package. I don't even know what that means. 5 servings. What is 5 servings? What do they call a serving? And why would that matter when it comes to hemp? Like, what difference does it make how many servings of actual hemp is in the food or the beverage? It's not intoxicating. It's healthy, just like I was just talking about. And so I don't know what they're trying to limit there in all. But it will also basically come up with a definition for hemp dietary supplements, including pills, tablets, and capsules. And so, once again, I don't know why those need to be defined when 9 times out of 10 they tell you how much CBD is in that capsule, CBG, CBN, Delta 9 for that matter, all industrial hemp stuff. So I don't really know what that definition really means. I do know that, again, it's been a couple years now because the FDA was dragging their feet then and still dragging their feet. And California did make hemp, I think, CBD acceptable in the food and beverage industry, and I wonder if that wasn't just in their cannabis regulated. California was the first state to be a medical state, but they just legalized recreationally not too long ago, and so that's a whole nother market. That it's kind of new to them, and I think it's interesting how states have such a division when it comes to hemp products and cannabis products higher than 0.3%, so to speak, in Delta 9. It's like they either want to, and they should obviously keep them secret or separate, but then a lot of them want to actually they want to then put that hemp in the same classification, which again just convolutes the whole issue. Which again we're starting to see. We're going to see more and more states, I believe, try to put things like Delta 8, the intoxicating hemp, so to speak, under the control of either the medical policy or control of the personal use policy, which means you'd have to go to a specific, you'd have to go to the dispensary to get them, or you'd have to go to the personal use licensed shop to get them, as opposed to them being over the counter, which I'm totally against one way or another. Again, the age restriction thing, I continue to go back and forth. I think with Delta 9, possibly age restrictions make sense. Delta 8 is it's not that potent. And so, maybe age restrictions are important. We don't sell to young people. The only reason we would sell to a young person is if their parent brought them in, and then we would sell to the parent because it's totally legal. And in fact, you cannot deny sales of a substance to a minor if their parent wants to purchase them in the state of Ohio. Alcohol, tobacco, no matter what it is. If a child and a parent walk into a place and the parent says, "I'm buying these cigarettes for my kid," you cannot deny that purchase in the state of Ohio. That's the law. And so, that's the way we would look at any minor or anybody that's young. And again, the CBD is the exclusion there. There should be zero age restrictions on CBD. Anybody that thinks CBD shouldn't be used by any individual of any age, if they need it, if they truly need that therapeutic value of the CBD, then they're wrong. They should not deny those individuals. The only FDA approved CBD medicine is for kids. And so, and again, I don't, other than possibly like Florida somehow is going to have age restrictions on CBD. I can't imagine why any state anywhere would put age restrictions on CBD. Again, there's some viable debate that I'm willing to accept when it comes to what they call the intoxicating hemp, as far as age restrictions go. So, that's basically how things are going there. This is kind of neat. Oklahoma, they're going to create a hemp task force in a good way to study non-flower hemp to help grow the grain and fiber industry in the state. And the state lawmakers and agencies would appoint members to this task force, and they're going to make sure that at least one of them comes from the Oklahoma State University College of Agriculture, and one of them will come from the University of Oklahoma College of Architecture. Brilliant. Okay. And so, hopefully, one of them comes from the fiber industry, at least. And so, but once again, this task force is meant to study and promote hemp growing for fiber and grain. So that's good job, Oklahoma. It's pretty smart. It sucks that you have to appoint a task force to do it, because everybody should just be doing it anyway, studying it and promoting it and growing it and using it for these reasons. But I think that will, again, add legitimacy to being a hemp farmer for grain or fiber in Oklahoma. And so, kudos to Oklahoma on that one. Here is a picture of Doug Fine, one of my favorite hemp humans on the planet, probably the most recognized. He's been on all kinds of TV shows and everything promoting hemp. Wrote the book American Hemp Farmer, wrote a book, and I have it somewhere. I'll have to show it to you, on hemp paper. But this is basically, he's holding what I call the goat of all non-living goats. I'm not a huge fan of the greatest of all time goat reference for most things. But I will have to say, as far as non-living goats, that is the goat, because that little goat that he's holding is made out of hemp composite. And so, he's a goat farmer. If you ask him by what he does for a living, so to speak, one of the things he would tell you is basically he's a goat farmer. And so the goat has always kind of been his symbol of things as well. And so him holding a hemp composite goat um, is quite apropos when it comes to what he does, what he believes in, who he is, and all those great things. So thanks, Doug Fine. I like to call him Doug Mighty Fine. We shared a stage, I don't know how many years ago, up in Toledo, um, where I learned of what he's doing in his promotion of hemp, and he continues to promote hemp in great ways, one way or another. All right, and we're going to leave you with a little pot, or a medium-sized pot, I should say. But this pot, specifically a planter pot, is made out of hempcrete. And this is something that whenever I envisioned making hempcrete products, I envisioned years ago, as well as hempcrete pavers, the square concrete pavers or round concrete pavers that people make paths with in their yard or whatnot. I think that these are two great ideas when it comes to hempcrete. And so I guess that's a small pot and a medium-sized pot when you look at it. Again, made out of hempcrete instead of concrete. I can't wait to, I would sell hempcrete statues like you see at the tree places and whatnot. But how fun would that be to have a whole line of hempcrete statues that you could put in your yard if you wanted to, if you're into those type of things. I can't say I've ever had a desire to buy a hemp or a concrete statue and display it in my yard. The fountain at my house is actually made out of concrete, so making a hempcrete fountain sounds like an awesome idea too. And so if we can get it into this industry and once again make them so they're comparable for people to use and price wise, just another great use of hempcrete to replace concrete, because that's really the goal. It's not about needing these hempcrete products. It's really about replacing the concrete products that are currently being made with hempcrete, if and when we can, and we should, everywhere. All right, that's all I got for the news. A little bit of events going on. Alabama Department of Agriculture still, I think, has a couple meetings in February. So if you're in Alabama and you want to check out those, go to the Department of Agriculture's website. You can do that. February 24th in Atlanta, you can go to the Hemp World Festival. Okay. And so that is going on from 12 to 8 p.m. at the Westside Cultural Arts Center in Atlanta. So check that out, the Hemp World Festival. And my understanding is it's supposed to be all things hemp. So, that's the way any hemp expo should be. It shouldn't just be 100 CBD sellers, which is kind of where the hemp expo went to for years and years and years. Really should encompass everything: fiber, grain, food, all that stuff. It's not too late well, it might be too late because you got to get visas or whatnot. So if you don't have one, you may not be able to do it. But February 24th and the 25th is the India Hemp Expo in Mumbai. So I think that should be pretty big. India is starting to really get behind hemp food, which I think is like super important for them, because I can't even imagine I know the majority of the country is vegetarians. And so, why they still don't use hemp grain in their food or what is amazing. Again, like I said, 5,000 years ago, it was a part of the 5 essential foods or grains in India. And because they're vegetarians, it just seems so natural that they should be using this hemp grain in their food. And just added to the list of events, February 29th, the Indigenous Cannabis Industry Association will host the Wisconsin Cannabis Industry and Policy Summit. And this is going to be at the Ho Chunk Casino and Hotel in Baraboo, Wisconsin. So if you're out in Wisconsin or near Wisconsin or close to that, and again, I suppose you really want to be in Wisconsin for it to be apropos. I don't know that it's, specifically for indigenous tribal people. I would only hope that it's open for everyone in Wisconsin to attend and be educated on. I do know that the Native Americans, indigenous Americans, are very much interested in growing industrial hemp because of, once again, its benefits to the planet. Its benefits, not because it was a part of their history, but because they want to make it a part of their future. And that's just as important as anything, because we're talking the future of the planet. We're talking about the future of humanity benefiting from industrial hemp. All right, I don't have any questions. I have made my thoughts perfectly clear as I normally do, so I don't have any beach thoughts. But feel free to ask me any questions you want on Facebook or email, Twitter. You can ask me on Twitter, I suppose, one way or another. And tell your friends, tell your neighbors to go, subscribe to the Jedi Hemp channel on YouTube. And we're on demand there anytime you want to watch an episode of the High Noon Hemp Show. All you got to do is go over to YouTube, and we have 245 of them, or at least when we're done here, we'll have 245 total episodes.
That's right.
And they may be time oriented, but you will still, even if you went back to the first episode, you're still going to learn something about hemp. You're going to see a hemp product that you may not have known about. You're going to, from day one to now, it's been the same format. It's a full range of hemp education here on the High Noon Hemp Show. Remember, folks, reduce, reuse, recycle, make everything else out of hemp. Having Hemptations.
See you all next week.